You.
Okay. Start.
So should we start? Am I audible?
I'm okay. You guys can start whenever.
Yes. Ms. Jueria, you can start.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Such a delightful Sunday, and it's amazing how we all are able to connect and engage through such platforms. I, Syeda Juwaria Fatima, teacher educator, on behalf of Professional Solidarity Forum, welcome you all as a host of today's webinar, that is Challenges of the New Normal. To begin with, let me take you through a brief introduction about the Professional Solidarity Forum, or PSF, as we all know. I would like to invite our PSF volunteer, Aisha Fatima, a Tech Force analyst from Salesforce, to take us through the intro. Ms. Aisha Fatima, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone is doing great, safe, and healthy and happy. My name is Aisha Fatima. I work for Salesforce, and I'm so thankful to the Professionals Solidarity Forum for giving me this opportunity. Being a part of this team and involving myself into few activities, I feel grateful for having this opportunity to introduce PSF on their behalf. So, Professional Solidarity Forum welcome you all to this webinar series of professionals. So, what is Professional Solidarity Forum? We call it PSF. It's an NGO formed by a group of professionals from IT and non-IT domains. We are involved into various activities and we have volunteered with various professionals across the country. So, here is a quick gist of it. We are a network of 1,000 plus IT and non IT professionals. Our chapters are in Hyderabad, Delhi, and Mumbai. We are connected with 2,000 and plus job seekers. Uh, our basic form, our main form of communication is through WhatsApp groups, and we have partnered with NASCOM and GHMC, and we run our very own skills academy by ourselves. So here are a few spheres of activities that we involve in. So we involve in startups consultancy, services to professionals fraternity, professionals talent identification and promotion, core social service, job and career guidance for all the available leads. So these are a few groups. We have gone ahead and made leaders, like a team lead for our group. These are the few groups, the professional development program, and there is the point of contact. So any one of you interested in any kind of groups can take down the contact number details and get in touch, and we can go on from there. And we are, as I said, we are a group of 1,000 plus IT and non-IT professionals. We need more people like us to get involved into this activity, lend a hand to improve us, to do better, and to evolve more. So I request everyone to come forward and volunteer yourself, and we can definitely achieve it as a team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Aisha. That was a very quick and good brief introduction about the PSF, and definitely a very inspiring platform for all of us. So moving ahead with the program, the pandemic has brought about uneasy feelings that can exacerbate mental illness and cause further mental issues. In this current state, our mental health system is not prepared to deal with this. What you can actually end up having is a global mental health pandemic. But the good news is there are ways to address it. The COVID-19 pandemic is causing suffering on a magnitude that is unprecedented in living memory. Millions have lost their livelihoods and struggling financially. Tens of thousands have lost loved ones. Hundreds of thousands have been infected. individuals who were already struggling with mental illness are facing even greater challenge. Welcome to the new normal. To understand the challenges faced during these new normal times and how to keep our mental health balanced, we have Dr. Syeda Ruksheda to help us out. Dr. Syeda Ruksheda is an eminent psychiatrist and psychotherapist and a celebrated speaker on mental health, with 2 TEDx talks to her credit. She serves as co-chair of Women's Mental Health Specialty Section of Indian Psychiatric Society. She has a thriving private practice in Lokhandwala, Mumbai, spanning over 20 years, specializing in adolescents, young adults, women, and families. A passionate advocate of community mental health, Dr. Ruksheda also consults at various centers in order to bridge the gap and provide quality, affordable mental health care to all. Her warmth and empathetic communication style have made her popular as a mental health expert for TV and electronic media. Ma'am, I am so delighted to invite you for today's webinar. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for those nice words. And every time I hear those words, I think of a friend of mine because she's the one who wrote them for me. Because people would ask me, okay, how do we introduce you? And I would get so embarrassed. I wouldn't know how to say that because खुद के मुंह से खुद की तारीफ थोड़ा सा weird लगता है ना. So I'm just very grateful to her that this is she wrote this for me. It's a lovely day to talk on mental health, but I feel every day is a lovely day to talk about mental health. Initially, we were having some technical issues, and I think I'm, continuing to have some technical issues now because I'm trying to share my PowerPoint, and that's not happening really. So that's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and email it to these people, and hopefully we can do that. All right. So when we talk about mental health, we talk about mental health in respect to COVID, right? We need to first understand that, okay, mental health is all about our daily activities, right? We need to understand that, okay, we need mental health for our functioning. I'm talking to you. I'm also trying to multitask a little bit and send the video while we send the audio PowerPoint while I'm talking to you. Should I wear this color today? What language should I use? What is this that I'm going to, I'm doing today? So we need mental health for everything. Clearly, when we are requiring mental health for our daily functioning, we also need to understand that how do we take care of it, and how, just as the topic suggested today, that we're talking about challenges in the new normal, because since the last few months we've all in a lockdown, and that has made it's changed our everyday life. It's changed our routines. It's changed how we even kind of look at each other and talk to each other, and how are we communicating with each other, isn't it? So when we are looking at these new challenges, the new normals, first of all, we need to figure out that, do we need a new mindset for it? Do we need do we have to change ourselves entirely and how we think about it and how we should go about it in life? Not really, because we don't really need to change ourselves entirely or change the way our mind functions or works. We do need to recognize that, okay, things are different. And the first thing as a psychiatrist that I'm going to tell you is that allowing ourselves to cope means not normalizing our situation and quickly moving forward, but giving ourselves time to truly process it. Because what happens is that we are talking about new normals and we think everybody should just snap up and start figuring out how to live differently and function differently. And some of us are waiting that, okay, the lockdown is going to get over, I'm going to resume my normal life. Some of us are figuring out what normal means right now. So a lot of the times, when we are comparing ourselves with each other, we feel feel that, okay, that person is coping better, I'm not coping better, or my boss is getting upset with me because I'm not really figuring things out on my own. My household is upset because everything is different now. We used to have lunch at this time, now it's not even prepared at that time. So what we need to really take some time and process things, because when we get too impatient to be able to survive and to be able to do well and thrive, we leave, we put that kind of extra pressure on ourselves. So we need to first understand and accept that, okay, things are different. Let me take some time. Let me have some patience and sabr, and let me get on with it. We need to understand, we recognize that we're surrounded by uncertainty. We don't even know when the lockdown's getting over. We don't know what the virus is like. We don't know when somebody that we know might get infected. We might get infected. We don't know if there's a vaccine, when it's coming. So it's okay to admit that. It's okay to admit that things are not normal. It's okay to allow ourselves to grieve or to be scared. It's okay to be comfortable with what is, to not be comfortable with what is going on. So allowing yourself that to feel those emotions is a very important aspect of figuring out how to adapt, right? Because we can't tell ourselves that, no, 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 I don't care and I don't want to think about it, and I should just be able to snap up and figure things out, and all of that, without really uh, also allowing ourselves that time to be human, right? So let's not be in too much of a hurry. Let's take a step back, look at it from a bird's eye point of view. What are the aspects of my life that are going on, and what do I need to do? One of the major reasons that we need to do this is because our children are watching us, right? We have children, whether they are our own kids, whether they are kids in the house, whether we have junior colleagues, or so they're watching us, right? But especially with children, what happens is that we need to be able to set examples for them, that, okay, if there is a crisis, A, how do I recognize the crisis? B, how do I take myself seriously or not so seriously? And then how do I adapt, right? So it's imperative for us, not just for ourselves to be able to adapt and think about life, but also because we are setting examples, we're setting role models for everybody. So now that I've made it that much more important for us to figure things out, let's get on with it. When we are talking about what are new normals, right? So we understand that our first, let's start with our homes. We understand that we're not really working from home. Our homes have become our places of work. So that transition and that change is also something that we have to kind of consider, and we've all been going through. Whether my home is now my office, or whether my home is now my school or college, right? Because I'm assuming there are some of us who are listening who are not really just professional, but we have family members as well, and we are live streaming, so we might have students and all of that. So we want to be all inclusive. So when we are trying to, when we're looking at it, that, okay, my home is now my workspace, and my school space or my college space. So how has that transformed, right? We are used to being out of the space for some time. If I'm a stay-at-home mom and a homemaker, I'm used to having the house to myself for some of the time, where people in my house have gone out. Now everybody's just there all the time. So how do we continue to have a functional household, right? We need to understand that we have shared spaces now. Some of us who live in metro cities, especially somebody like me who lives in Bombay, we might have smaller spaces. We might not have the luxury of each of us having a room, and our homes don't have like a separate office section. Children are used to studying on the dining table, and now all of a sudden the dining table is a workspace. So we need to understand that, okay, the shared space is what we need to now have a more respect towards, right? So now that we have transformed our home into work, how do we continue to maintain our home as a home? So that's another challenge of the new normal. So that takes a certain amount of creativity and a certain amount of practice, but a lot of commitment and dedication. So when we are talking about shared spaces, we need to understand that everybody's living here, right? I'm not the owner. Just because I am maybe the provider or I may be the homemaker, but so now I have said that, okay, this dining table is my domain now, does not mean that I've just because I've declared I'm the queen makes me the queen. So I do need to understand that, okay, I need to have a better respectful relationship with people around me, especially if I have children in the house, because it's so easy for us to kind of just tell the children, like we just assume that the children should keep quiet or the children should be there and children should be seen not heard, kind of, especially if I'm working. So we need to get that respect back into our heads and in our behavior, because if it's not in our head, it's not going to come out as behavior. Also, like just basic safety measures, right? Because we are realizing that the household still has to run, somebody has to get the groceries, somebody has to do all of this. So we need to understand, we need to limit our errands. Oh, we shouldn't be going out of the house if we don't need to. We shouldn't be just going out just because, oh, today, so make a list instead of going every single day for one item or two items. Make a list, figure out who needs to go, how can we go, who's responsible for this activity, who's responsible for that activity. And sometimes you might want to mix it up a little bit, because in a lot of household they designate one person. Okay, this person goes and shops every time and does all of this, but then the other people start feeling a little resentful. Why does he or she need to get to go out, and why do I need to get, why am I stuck with this chore, and why can't I get the chores? So again, the division of labor has to be skill based, right? Like, you seriously don't want to put me in a kitchen, because the only thing you're going to get out of me that is really nice is chai and a mean omelette. That's it, right? So my skill based, clearly, not that I can't cook, but I'm not like a great cook, also because I hate it. So you don't want to put me in the kitchen, but you can put me in charge of other things, right? So when we're talking about division of labor, we need to also understand, especially if, like, I'm going to say that, okay, if it's a couple, especially, right? It's a husband and wife, maybe. Get away from gender roles. Don't think that, oh, because she's a woman, she needs to run the household, or because I'm a man, I cannot be doing these kind of things. Log kya kahenge and all of that, thankfully, has kind of gone out of the window, because well, men have been sweeping and cleaning and washing. So those gender roles are already been neutralized a little bit. We need to get on the program more and then realize that, okay, they're not existing as much as they used to. So when those barriers are not there, let's embrace those, getting rid of those barriers a little bit more, and let's embrace the whole idea that, okay, we need to have skill based division of labor. Whether if it's my son who cooks better and my daughter who drives better, that's fine. And so because they are going to be more comfortable doing what they know best, so that helps me run the household better. And the division of labor is not something that, okay, oh, I'm going to sit down, make a list, and then give it to everybody. Especially if it's a couple, it's an important aspect that we can sit down and redraw. So I always encourage women, especially, to, don't just hand out list of chores. Actually, sit down with your partner and tell them that, okay, these are the things that need to need to get done on a daily basis. What do we do? How do we tackle it? What do you want to do? What should I do? Do you think, who should we parcel out what information to? So when you are kind of and of course, if you have older children or if you have other adults in the house, and you make a collective effort and you come up with a collective Excel sheet of chores, that makes it more, it makes everybody feel more of an ownership and also responsible. And then we don't cross each other's paths. We know, okay, this person is doing this and this person is doing that at that time. So again, to set that household and get that rhythm in our household, that our home starts feeling like home again. These simple, small little things, but they really go a long way in changing that. When I'm saying skill-based chores, doesn't, because sometimes it's like I said, why does he get to go out to buy groceries always, or why does she get to do that always? So if there is some bone of core contention that everybody wants that one chore, that's all right. So you maybe then take turns. Okay, this week you do it, and next week I'm going to do it. Because we're all living together, we also need to understand that we all still need our personal spaces. And those personal spaces are physical spaces, those personal space are my mental, psychological space where, like just keep quiet for some time. And that those personal spaces are also digital spaces, because some of us who may be having older children who are, teenagers or young adults, and they have their own social media, and my spouse will have a social media, or my partner is going to have a social media, and what they are talking about. So you need to respect that space. I need to be able to own my own personal space, like I said, physical, emotional, as well as digital. And I need to be able to respect the people around me, their digital spaces. I'm not suggesting that you let your children off the hook and let them do what they want. Children do need boundaries, and we are responsible for them. We're supposed to be taking care of them and parenting instead of allowing them to do adulting when they're not adults yet. So there's a difference there. Having said that, you do need to respect that space, because that makes me feel a little bit more balanced, a little bit more, like my feet on the ground kind of a thing, and more confident. There may be a lot of changes really that you may not have thought about or considered or taken for granted before, but now we do have an opportunity to correct them, right? So when we are faced with a pandemic like this, and there are definite issues and bad challenges, we can also use some of them as opportunities. And one of the reasons we need to do that is because it builds resilience. Resilience is a brain function that we require for not just emotional health, but also physical health. If I am struck down with, like, even let's say a fracture for that matter, and so how I recover from it, what my speed of recovery is, what my quality of recovery is, am I going to get my functionality back? All of those things are based on resilience, which is a brain function. So if I'm readapting, readjusting, tweaking here a little bit here and there on how do I develop and evolve as a human being, emotionally, thought process wise, behavior wise, cognitive wise, the resilience is going to definitely improve and develop better, which is going to make me a healthier person physically, emotionally, and also socially for that matter. So these small little things are definitely going to help us with our how we are function, when we're looking at, like I said, going back to continuing to preserve our home as home, seeing to it that how the household chores are run perfectly. So we don't want to start thinking that chores are what makes the household, right? It's the people in it, it's how we interact with each other, how do we respect each other, speak to each other or not speak to each other, how do we love and how do we fight. So that's what it is. And we do need to reclaim that home, because especially if there is a two income household, we used to have like a 4-hour marriage or a 2-hour parenting thing, and now it's become 24/7. So those readjustments and those changes definitely is something that we want to work on a little bit. When we talk about relationships, right, we talk about we understand that because of the pandemic and because of the fears of the pandemic and the social restrictions, the movement restrictions, what happens is that there are old issues that are surfacing, or there may be new issues that are emerging, especially when we're talking about interpersonal relationships between people in our family or between colleagues, or if because we may have shifted roles and we may have shifted teams, and if it's a new team that I have started working with, I have not had that bond. So then to translate that and transfer that on an online instead of a face to face, those can have their own challenges. So especially when we're talking about home and our personal interpersonal relationships, we need to understand that we want to reinvent ways to establish new relationships, to grow our existing relationships, and to maintain our relationships. And like I said, it takes a little bit of creativity but a lot of commitment. We do need to, whenever these issues do come up, the old ones or the new ones, we need to solve and resolve as and when we go along. We don't want to push them under the carpet, because you know what, they are not resolved. So if they're not resolved and we push them under the carpet, it's like the pink elephant in the room that just grows bigger and bigger, and we are saying that it doesn't exist, but it's going to blow up in our faces sometime. So again, how do we go about maintaining these relationships, and what do we do? So like I said, when we're talking about personal space, we're talking about taking care of ourselves first, right? So so if I want to have a healthy relationship with someone, whether it's somebody in my personal life or whether it is my work colleagues, I need to have a healthy relationship with myself first. If I'm either burning out, or if I'm unhappy, or if I am not okay, I'm not taking care of myself, that's not going to happen. So I need to first be have the ability to take care of myself. Khana pina sona sahi hona chahiye, jitna hona chahiye utna hona chahiye. Get into a healthy routine. I was just finishing another session, and I was complaining to my patient that, oh my god, I'm just getting like I need to start exercising again, because I used to be very particular about exercising. But unfortunately, with the pandemic, there's so much of work, not just household work, but also my professional work, that I haven't been able to do the things for myself that I need to do to be able to continue functioning at an optimal level. So I was trying, so we all have challenges. And like I tell, this pandemic is the same storm, but everybody is in different boats. So let's not compare our boat to somebody else's boat, because I was talking, there's this friend of mine, she's a doctor as well, and she never misses her workout, and she's so fit. And here I am drowning in work, and I'm like, I don't know how she's managing to do that, right? So it's the same storm, different boats. Very important not to compare our boats, and not to be too punitive towards ourselves, that, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that. So putting myself first does not mean I'm being selfish. Putting myself first means that I am seeing to it that I'm prepared to be able to help my people if I need to have good relationships, which is again going to help them as well, isn't it? So when I do that, when I'm taking care of myself, it's important for me to have a regular lifestyle, a routine, that's something that's healthy for me. And also that I am taking care that I'm doing things that I like a little bit, at least for some period of time. I was talking to this patient, I was giving my example, and I was encouraging her to take some time off, because she was just getting too overwhelmed with her kids and household, and she has in-laws in the house, and everybody's nice and everybody's trying to be cooperative, but she was just getting very overwhelmed. So taking breaks is very important. Figuring out when you need to take a break is important. Just before I started the work day today, and it's Sunday, but I'm working, because what can I do about it? I was messaging this friend of mine, and I was like, once a week I hit, like, I'm close to burnout, and then I need to take care of myself again. So I do need to take care of myself in order to be somebody that who has good relationships and can be there for people. Because if I don't do that for myself, and if I'm not feeling nurtured and I'm not feeling looked after, of course I'm not going to be able to do a good job with anybody else. And that's then going to make me feel more guilty and more responsible. So I need to take care of myself. In a day, I need to do something that I like. I need to have some alone time, right? Because especially if you have a busy household and lots of people around, if you're living with families, if you're lucky enough to be living with families, you do need to have some space as well, and some alone time as well. So even if you're, especially if you're a homemaker, you do need to just get away with everybody and shut those doors. So even if, so build, I always encourage, I've been encouraging people since the lockdown, that create an alone space in your home, right? It could be a room, it could be a balcony, it could be a chair or a sofa, for that matter. That, and people take turns, that, okay, from this time to this time is my alone time, so unless and until the house is on fire, do not call me up. Or this time to this time is your alone time, so you can do what you want with it, and we're all going to respect your alone time, and nobody's going to say anything, and nobody's going to tease you about it, and you can do what you want with it. So taking those small little steps is definitely going to help you be in a better mental state, and also, like I said, build your resilience, and you're going to be that much more healthier. When we are talking about, again, relationships, whether we are talking about interpersonal relationships, or we are talking about relationships at home, when in doubt, have an empathetic approach. Whenever it's possible, be compassionate, right? Empathy is nothing but I'm trying to see where you're coming from. I'm going to try and put myself into your shoes. Okay, why are you doing this? What's making you take? If you've been nasty to me, why have you been nasty to me? If you couldn't finish a function, why couldn't you finish your functions? I don't have to agree with what you did. I don't have to condone what you did. I don't have to say that what happened was right, but I do want to try and see why this must have happened, not for your sake, but for mine. If I come from somewhere, if from an empathetic point of view, I have more patience to deal with you. So if I have more patience to deal with you, then I am going to be much more calmer, and I'm not going to end up, fighting where we don't need to fight, and then, further drifting away from each other or increasing that crack space. So like I said, when in doubt, always stick with empathy. When I mentioned compassionate, we first have to be compassionate towards ourselves, right? So we have to accept the fact that, oh, you said this, that made me think that this is not a right thing that happened. That made me feel very sad, and I cried. And you know what, that's really terrible, and I'm feeling terrible about it. But okay, so take yourself some time, right? When I said, when I started the conversation today by saying that it's okay to feel that, it's okay to even say I'm not liking this, it's okay to say that, okay, this is not working out for me, or I'm finding it's still a little, it's been a few months, but I'm still finding my feet under me, I'm not being able to cope with everything. So be a little compassionate towards yourself, and also be compassionate to other people, because that's how you're going to build relationships. You're not going to build relationships by giving them like a list of things to do, and this is how I don't want to be spoken to, and this is how I want to be spoken about. So that's not really always going to work out, because people are not going to follow orders even when they want to. So because that's not possible, so we need to be able to kind of have that compassion towards them as well, have that ability to maybe forgive or forget, or both. So whatever it is that we have, and we find that we have an asset. If I can be more empathetic, if I can be more compassionate, then I can have more patience with somebody that I love or care for, I need to work with, or I need to make them work for me. And that's going to definitely make my life easier. And I always say things that I even put it up on Instagram. Practice kindness till it becomes instinctual. So what happens is that so suppose a lot of the time, especially the young people, they come and say things to me that I do nice things because I think that that's the right thing to do. But then, if does that mean that it's really right? Because it's not really coming from me, I'm thinking that it's the right thing to do, and that's why I'm doing it. So maybe I'm not a nice person. So I tell them as well that, what, even if you start, even if you're doing the right thing, because you're thinking about it, like it's intellectual, doesn't matter. You're still doing the right thing, and that's the more important part of it. And keep doing the right thing, and quickly enough, it's, instead of being intellectual, it is going to be instinctive. So I may speak to you politely, and I may speak to you nicely, and I will always remember my manners, tell you a thank you if you're giving me something, say sorry if I did something wrong, or if I inadvertently did something to hurt you. And when I'm doing that when I'm doing that on a regular basis, on an intellectual basis, very soon it's going to be instinctual. And that instinctual kindness is going to be beneficial for me, because I'm not doing all of these things just to make you feel better. I'm also doing this because I know that this is going to be good for me. I'm going to feel nice about myself. My self esteem is going to improve, which is going to improve my self confidence. And I'm naturally, I'm going to be a happy person if people are happy with me also, right? So these are very easy ways of figuring it out, because, a lot of us are not kind, because, we are so used to laughing at people when somebody falls down, because we used to see these cartoons or these Laurel and Hardy movies where it was funny if somebody fell down, and we're supposed to laugh at them because if somebody's clumsy or somebody doesn't look a particular way. So we somehow became conditioned to not be kind, and to think that, okay, this is how it is. But we need to understand that we do need to change that. We do need to keep practicing doing the right thing, so that we uncondition ourselves. So growing, evolving into a happier and a healthier person means unlearning a lot of things, learning a lot of new things, and practicing those new things. And practice makes it permanent, and that's how our brain functions, and that's how we can continue doing this. So when we are talking about continuing to create the home and keeping it as a home. Now we also have to think about, okay, now my homes are now my workplace, and my schools, my homes are now my school space, and my home is now my college space. Hold on a sec. Sorry, I just had to tell somebody that, okay, I don't have time for lunch and you should go ahead. So that's again because now my home is my workspace. So how do I see to it that I do have those distinctions, because I need to be able to, like I said, work properly, efficiently, because if I'm multitasking, if I'm doing this at the same time I'm trying to do something else, I'm not that effective, and it might take me longer to finish what I was going to do. So my productivity is going to go down. B, it's going to take me longer. I'm spending more time doing the same things that I used to, and that makes me feel awful. C, nobody's happy with me. I'm not happy with myself. So you want to keep distinctive, kind of like boxes, and do things on a schedule so that you can create this space for yourself and say that, okay, now this, because I'm in the work mode, this is what it is. So my mother was speaking to my nephew, and she told me, you know what, he said that he's going to school. Have the school started in Hyderabad? And I'm like, no, Ammi, that's not what happened. It's just that when he sits in front of the computer, he's 5 years old. So when he sits in front of the computer, his teacher says, now you're in school. So that's why he's telling you that he goes to school, because he's taking it seriously, that, okay, teacher has said, when I'm sitting in front of the computer, I have to dress up properly, and I have to sit, and I have to not speak, when I have to raise my hand when I have to speak to teacher, and I can't run around, and I can't lie around, and all of that. So if a 5-year-old understands that, and he's doing that, so much so that he speaks to my mom as if that, yeah, I went to school. And my mom got confused, how is he going to school? So it's possible for all of us to make that kind of, condition our brains and condition our home atmosphere into those kind of spaces, that when I'm at work, I'm at work, when I'm in school, I'm in school, and when I'm at home, I'm at home. So because it's fine. I mean, you don't have to wear formal clothes. I mean, I know I'm not wearing my regular formal work clothes when I've been working from home, and I'm more casual, and I'm wearing more comfortable clothes, because I just do deserve that. So it's okay to do that. But if you feel that, no, that's not putting you in the right zone to work, so you might want to even change your clothes and sit to work, so that you can finish your work on time. A lot of people are definitely liking it, because they roll out of bed at 9:30 to start work at 10 o'clock, because somebody else is doing the household chores for them. So those of us who are lucky, that's really nice. Another, there's another challenge is, with work and with home, is that some of us are too busy, and some of us are too bored, and that's also kind of interfering in our everyday activity and our lifestyles, because unfortunately not all of us are people with some certain kind of businesses or certain kind of works. They're out of work because of the lockdown. Most IT people are, in fact, quite doing pretty well for themselves, and a lot of them who were in different cities for their work have also gone back to their homes to continue working. So IT people are, you guys are lucky. And I'm lucky because I'm a doctor, but most of my work can still continue via telemedicine and telepsychiatry. So that's also nice. But those of us who are, either out of work or whatever, are too bored. And those people can kind of like interfere with our work, because it's very like, yeah, I mean, my family is kind of annoyed with me, because if I'm in a session or something like that, I'm not communicable at all. So they get like really upset that, oh, you're always working. Oh, if you want to call you for lunch, we can't even call you for lunch because you're in the middle of a session somehow. So those can happen. And if you do have like certain part of the household who's too busy, and another few people in the house who are very, very bored, yeah, that kind of balancing can be a little bit tricky, but it's possible for us to do it. So those of us who are bored need to come up with creative ways of getting not bored. Like, I was talking to this young person yesterday. He's 20 years of age, and college is not started yet, online classes haven't started yet, and he's a single child, so he doesn't have any siblings in the house, and he's bored out of his head, and so much so that now we're worried that okay, it may trigger his depression again, which was getting better. I mean, which is better already. So, and we've almost stopped his medication. So now it's scary that oh my god, what if this happens? What if this triggers off? Because being too bored can also lead to a certain amount of boredom, and getting too overworked or getting too bored can also increase your sense of loneliness, increase your sense of isolation. So we also want to be sure that okay, whatever digital space that we are occupying, whatever whatever we are consuming as far as social media is concerned, and whatever we are creating as far as social media is concerned, is very consciously done so that it adds to our life instead of subtracting from our life. So that's another way of kind of reaching out. Like I always say that if I have to be in a pandemic, it's a very good idea that I'm in 2020, where all of us are used to technology. We were already kind of very well versed in doing FaceTiming or WhatsApp video calls with families and friends, and we all have social media and we so connected with each other. So it's a great, so you can use social media and your digital space effectively to kind of get away from burnout as well, even if you're very overworked or if you're too bored. But it has to be conscious, and it has to be something that is nurturing for you instead of something that is damaging to you. And one more thing that I'm going to leave you guys with is, because that's a lesson that I need to learn. The reason that I am overworked is because I'm not being able to say no. Right? Somebody says, can you do a video for us, or can you do an Insta live for us, or can you do a Facebook live for us? And because it's mental health related, and I feel there are so many people out there with no access or limited access, I don't know which a kind word or which tip that I might share might help them. I'm not saying no, and that's increasing my workload. So I need to be self-compassionate, I need to have self-care and draw my own boundaries, because without those kind of boundaries, I might overexpend myself and not be okay. So we all need to learn our own boundaries, respect our boundaries. Only then are we going to respect other people's boundaries, and then have effective relationships. And because relationships are very important for us, especially in this pandemic, where we are not being able to, socialize with a lot of people and connect with a lot of people, and we are feeling that impact of loneliness, and that's making us feel a little sad. At the end of the day, if I, like I said, when I need to start saying no, but I also feel that okay, no, but then I don't want to, I mean, they were offering something nice, so maybe I can ask a junior of mine or a colleague of mine that what, I don't want to do this, can you do this instead? So I don't feel guilty about not being able to help people when I can, and at the same time not taking myself for granted and pushing myself to the limit. So asking for help is a very, very important aspect of self-care, especially if you feel that you're struggling with any kind of health issues, whether that's physical issue or whether that's a psychological or a psychiatric issue. So that makes us more stronger and more resilient and more intelligent, because A, I figured out that I need help, B, I figured out who to ask for, and C, I'm brave enough and strong enough to ask for help. So again, say no, draw your boundaries, and ask for help. And that's where I'm going to leave you guys at, because it's really not possible for to cover all the topics and all the points. And if the organizers have some questions, or they've taken some questions online and they need to be answered, then that's a very good way of learning, isn't it? Because I'm going to talk about what I think is important, but it might be something that I might not have covered. So Juveria is going to come up again, and
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. That was such an insightful session. Really, I mean, listening to you, I'm sure most of us will agree with me that we were able to reflect, and I really hope it gives us that impetus to develop that positive mental attitude that you've been guiding us through to deal with this current situation. I mean, how those the small steps you've guided us with to take for self care, and how to develop resilience. I know as a teacher educator, we teach our students to develop resilience, but it's important in this situation that we ourselves as adults also develop it. It's really insightful. Yes, we do have a few questions for you, ma'am. Could I read out one for you?
sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what the weather like is in Hyderabad, but it's like really dark and cloudy and rainy right now in Bombay. So I have no natural light, so I'm all in the dark.
No, you look great. You look great, ma'am. All right. Can I go ahead with the question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mumtaz Parveen. She says that being adult, we are slowly coping up, but what about school going children? How to support them to adjust in new normal life?
Um, like I said, initially, one of the major kind of responsibilities we have right now is to set a good role model for our children. It's okay for them to see us struggle a little bit, but it's important for them to see that we have adapted, right? Like I said, my 5-year old now says he's going to school and a lot of that was done because he listened to the teacher, and the parents in his house encouraged him that, oh yes, we must listen to the teacher. Now that is possible also because he's been to school last year, right? So he knows what a school is, he knows the teacher has an authority and how the that happens. So the children who've never been to school before, like nursery or even like junior KG, I'm telling parents, you know what, don't worry about it. Even if your kid is not being able to really attend school every single day for a long period of time, don't worry about it. So first thing is to and not think that, oh my god, 1 month is gone and my child hasn't learned anything. So that's one thing that you don't want to worry about. You don't want to behave as if it's a huge crisis. How to make them kind of more accepting to it is that, they're kids are far more resilient than we ever are. As far as you find that balance, that okay, how do I see to it that my kid gets enough time to jump around, run around. If I have a space that my kid can go and play out in the open with, wonderful. If I don't have that space, is there like a terrace that he can run around in, or drive, or his or her cycle in? What kind of physical stimulation can I get to give my child? Because my child is stimulated physically playing, then my child is going to be able to study and focus and sit in one place. Like I said, we want our children to be well behaved, but what you're not realizing is that by not this pandemic has made it difficult for them to have a normal growth. We don't even know what the long term impacts are going to be yet, because it's too soon for us to say anything about it. So but we still have to try, and like I said, come up with creative ways to see to it that our kids have the physical exercise. And when I mean exercise is different, and they also have to have unstructured playtime. Doesn't matter how young or old your child is. I know for a fact that schools are also having PT classes, so they're doing their structured exercise, which is great, but they also need to have that unstructured time. So if you want to see to it that your children are studying okay in school with the laptops and all of that, you just want to make sure that they're also playing. And especially because kids are having to spend so much of time on screen. I know I struggled as an adult. The first couple of weeks of lockdown were terrible because I'm used to doing online sessions with my clients even from before. So the shift to virtual clinics was not as difficult, but I'm not used to being spending so much of time on screen. So I had to so my eyes were like a big issue. So so every session I've been reminding people, you know what, take short breaks, stand in the window, look at something far away. Because when we are in the house and we're only in the screen, our far vision is not being used so much, so that's putting a strain on your eyes. So do that with your children as well. Just stand in the window with them and just talk about stuff and make them look outside instead of only on the screen. So simple few little adjustments here, and they're going to be okay. So instead of spending 4 hours in the school, if they're spending 2 hours, you know what, don't sweat it. It's small stuff, it's okay, it's not going to make such a big deal. Even if their grades suffer, so what, it's just a year. It doesn't mean that their knowledge bank is going to go away or get depleted. So take it easy on yourself and take it easy on them. If you're not being able to make them sit to study because you're also doing household work and you're also doing clinical work, professional work, it's fine. Don't do it, it's okay. You can let those homework slide a little bit, no problem. But if you're managing to have your routine set, and if you're managing to have their routine set, then it's okay. Because some households have a big difficulty, right? Like there are 3 kids, all 3 of them have online schools. How are they going to get 3 laptops? Because one household is there, we are lucky if they have one laptop, right? And that's usually for work, and it's also sometimes that the kids use it. So a lot of children don't have accessibility as well. In fact, one of the reasons, even today earlier, 11 o'clock was on Doordarshan, there was something of my episode, because a lot of children don't have access to computers and online classes at all. So so they're doing some shows on Doordarshan, maybe that's how the kids can learn. So don't worry about it. So there are kids who don't have access, and they're not doing so great because of it, and our kids have access, but because we're finding different challenges, that's why the kids are not going to do so great. So that's fine, that's okay. Like I said, on the bigger picture, look at it that is just a few months. Don't worry about it. And by now, frankly, your kids also are kind of really missing their friends, so even if they get to see them online, they're happy about it, trust me. So if it's a bad day, let it go. If it's a good day, great, enjoy it and really milk it. So yeah, so just don't keep a track record of which kid is doing where and how much. So ease up on those pressures.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. Those were great tips. And we have a few more questions. I know it's time for your lunch. We'll just leave you quickly. Two more to go. Somebody wants to know, how can they take your appointment? That is one thing, if you would like to answer that.
um okay. Well, do you want me to give out the information now, or
You could leave it in the chat box.
sure?
Yeah, we can
Yeah, that's what
at
I was
the end of
asking.
this.
I'll
Put
just
it in
give
the
out my
chat
clinic
box.
number and they can message on that number later.
All right.
Yeah.
So
All right.
we got a question. How do we train our minds to ignore the negatives and build positivity and make the best of the situations?
Thank you very much for that question, because positive psychiatry and positive psychology is one of my favorite things to talk about. And whether we are talking about modern Western psychotherapy, whether we're talking about Islamic psychology, we do understand that behavior and changing your behavior is a very good first step towards changing your mindset, right? So how do we do that? Is by inculcating good habits. So we're talking about only mind right now. So we've already talked about the healthy lifestyle and that routine. So that's a good thing. But very few very basic step is that keep a gratitude diary. You want to call it a gratitude diary because you want to say thanks to God or whatever it is, the spirituality that you believe in. If you don't believe in God and spirituality, you keep a aha moment diary, whatever you want to call it, right? So the thing is, I tell them that take today, right? By the end of the day, I'm going to sit down and think, what are the three things today that were nice, or that made me happy, or that might made me feel blessed, or that made me feel grateful, or that made me smile. Something that I must have seen, like, okay, a friend of mine shared a puppy picture, or I saw something like, I saw a kitten video, or something that somebody did something for me, because I'm forever on an online session. And I love chai. I don't drink a lot of it, but I do love my chai. And if I'm in a session and somebody will come and like just put a chai next to me, and that was a good moment. So very often, one of my things to be happy about today includes that cup of tea, or even if I made the chai and it turned out to be fantastic. So or something that I did for somebody, that somebody was just sitting in the house or whatever, and I just brought them a plate of food instead of just making them take it for themselves. It could be simple things like that. It could be a fleeting moment of positivity or happiness or gratefulness that you're feeling. But it's important for me to chart those down. Today, what happened? Today, in the last, today, since the time I woke up, what were the good points of my day? Doesn't matter whether you're sick, doesn't matter whether you're tired, doesn't matter you've had a bad day, doesn't matter if you had a bad fight in the house today, early in the day. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be able to pick up three moments in your life of that day that were nice. So that's why I say people that, even if I had to fight in the morning and somebody asks me how I'm doing and how's life, I'm going to say, yeah, good, alhamdulillah. That's because yes, I've had a fight, and yeah, that's also there, but I'm going to get over it, and that doesn't mean my life is over, or that way. Or if it's a very good friend or close friend, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm having a bad day, but overall, thank God, alhamdulillah, everything is fine. So it's important for me to have that kind of a realistic viewpoint towards my life, because no matter how bad a day it is, even if I am, let's say, like, ill and bedridden or something, I can still pick something that happened in my day. The reason we are going to do that is because that's how we train our brain. If every single day I'm going to sit down and think about the three things that happened, my brain is going to automatically start picking on positives, because my brain is going to say that ye to karwaegi kaam sham mein wapas hai na, evening I'm going to have to sit down and do that gratitude diary. So I might as well start picking at positives so that I remember, so that that evening homework will get done faster. So that's how your brain starts thinking and automatically starts picking at the positives, and not just focusing on the negatives on a daily life. And it's a very neurophysiological method that I'm saying, a neurophysiological change that I'm talking about. It's not just a psychology thing. And mind is not going to function without the brain tissue. So we're talking about changing your brain tissue, and that's what is happening. That's what can happen. Another very easy way of focusing on positives or becoming a positive person is not to multitask. If I'm doing one thing at a time, if I'm sitting here concentrating on you and I'm not really distracted, it helps me. It conserves my energy. If we talk about that elusive work life balance, this is what it means. Mindfulness. If I'm mindful of what's happening right now, what I'm doing right now, I have the energy to go out of this room and then have a good time with my family and enjoy my family, or enjoy my home, or enjoy that streaming that I'm doing on whichever channel that I want to watch on. So that's another very easy way of training your brain to be positive and look at positives and be more realistic. Positive thinking does not mean that I lie to myself. Suppose if I don't like black color, and if I have to start telling myself that I love black color, that's not positivity at all, because that's just me trying to manipulate myself or something, which my brain's going to reject. So keeping it real, keeping it being realistic about it, but picking and small little things, being mindful, that's a wonderful and a very sasta sundar tikau method of changing your brain neurophysiology and being positive overall. So yeah, go ahead and start your gratitude diary today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. We have a lot of questions coming in, so I think you really have to cut it. I hate to interrupt you. It was very insightful, yet people are really waiting for your insights. So we have some questions from students. I think we can club two questions here. One student from Oyster says, I'm a student from Bidar. How shall I spend my lockdown days? And another one, Amina Begum says, how can I give time to myself managing housework, studies, as well as a baby? So students wants to know your insight. How do they deal with
Right.
such things?
So, but I must compliment you on such a polite way of telling me to talk less. So that was very nicely done. As far as the student is concerned, thank you very much and for that question, because it says that you're on standard 10th right now. So good, important year. And so how shall I spend my days of the lockdown? So if you're a 10th standard student, if you're asking that, I'm going to start worrying that if why aren't you really focused on studies? Okay, so having said that, I'm the first person to tell you to be ambitious, set your goals. You should get everything that you want in life. And if you can get good grades, you should be able to, prove to yourself that you can work hard and get those grades that you've always wanted, or you wanted at this time. So if you're a student, your primary job is education, academics, right? And if you're doing your primary job as in a good way, in an effective way, you're going to start feeling better. So you do need to, but you're still young, you're still growing up, so you also need to play, you also need to exercise, and you also need to communicate with your peers and your friends. So it's a good way of kind of when you were in school, probably what was the division of your time like? Okay, this time was for school, this time was recess time, evening I would sit and study this much, or I would spend time with my family this much. So kind of stick to the same schedule, and you'll be good with it, you'll be okay with it. If you want to learn something new, and if you have the time right now, go ahead and learn something new, whether that's fun based, or it doesn't always, when we are saying learn something new, it doesn't mean that it has to be like do a course that is going to help in your academics or your education or your employability. No, it could be something fun, and it isn't, you don't have to be an expert in that. I mean, if you're taking a course in like, okay, how to click good pictures with your cell phone camera, that's fine. Maybe you have a better Instagram profile after that. So even if it's fun and frivolous, don't worry about it. Go ahead and do something that makes you feel good. Go ahead and do something that you can share with other people. So that's a very good way of spending time. When Amina was saying that, okay, how do you I'm sorry, I don't know who asked that question, but how do you balance, taking care of a child and taking care of the household activities and also working? Ask for help, delegate. Trust me, I'm the queen of delegation. I will see to it that I get everything that I want in life. Because like I said, I'm very ambitious. I want to be happy. I want to be successful. I want to be taken care of. I'm pampered by everybody that I know. So, but that's also because A, I do work hard. I don't drop the ball on a lot of things, but also B, that I do delegate and I ask for help, because I don't want to be a superwoman. You know what? I really don't want to be a superwoman. I just want to be a regular person who's getting to do whatever she wants and also fulfilling all my obligations because they are out of love and they're not necessarily because I have to do them. So assign tasks, take care of your child, ask help to take care of your child. And if you have if you're lucky enough to have a spouse and a parent, and if he co-parent, if he's or they're helping with childcare, they're not helping with childcare, they're parenting. So don't feel obliged to your spouse because they're also taking care of the kid. Don't feel obliged to other people in the house because they're also helping in the household, because it's not just your household, it's not just your child. So ask for help and delegate, and you'll get everything done. Don't worry about it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You have responses saying, thank you for inspiring me from the 10th grader. And Amina Begum also thanks you for answering the question. So we have another question. They want to know how to be resilient while working from home and giving the 100% at workspace and cope up with the challenge of being alone.
So this is the last question.
Oh, we have a few more. Just
So
another
this is the
one.
last question. Okay.
All right.
So I am super happy with this question, and thank you very much, because again, like you must have heard, resilience is one of the topics that I are really close to my heart, because I feel that that's such a super easy way of taking care of your mind and your body for the longevity of your life and the quality of your life. From what you said, that you're by yourself, you're living by yourself. Is that right? That's what they said, right? That
Yes.
that they're living by
Yes.
themselves.
Yes, being
So
alone. Yes.
if you are, like I said, if you're not fortunate enough to be living with a family, a functional family, a family with healthy relationships, and you're away from your family, then yes, it becomes a little bit more important to really see to it that you don't drop the ball in keeping in touch with your loved ones and keeping in touch with your friends and family, because our friends are also our family, that we've chosen, isn't it? And suppose you maybe haven't had time to have a lot of good nurturing relationships in the past, doesn't mean that you can't start now, because you do need people in your life that you're connected to, because that's how it's going to make it, you're going to have to you're going to feel good as a person, good as a contributor to society, if you're having a purpose and meaningful relationships with people, that you can do something for them and they can do something for you, even if it's to just give you a compliment or you can help somebody else out. So focus on relationships, build your relationships, take time out for yourself, but at the same time, don't allow yourself to just be very, very alone or lonely. Keep connected to people. Sharing is very important. Just you don't have to kind of always give a report card in terms of kya kiya, kya nahi kiya, but it's always nice also to just be able to share somebody at the end of the day that, oh yeah, you know what, I was feeling bored and that's why I made this today to eat, or I was feeling too bored and that's why I just had Maggie today, or work was very nice today. So at the end of the day, if you're just sharing your day, it's a very good way of not feeling isolated, not feeling lonely. Like I said, those of us who don't have functional families, who don't have good healthy relationships with families, that can also be a bit of an issue, because you feel that you're trapped with people and in an environment that you can't get out of, and you're in a bad relation, a bad atmosphere. So you could urge everybody else also to respect your space, and you respect their space as well, so that you minimize the interaction that you might have with these people. Because if it's a dysfunctional relationship, if it's but frankly, if it is dysfunctional relationships and it's with family or with a spouse, please take help, fix your relationships, because it is an important part of your life. Maybe the pandemic is now kind of put you in a situation where you can't get out, right? So then you do have to face up to those things, and take therapy, take counseling, take psychiatric help if there is requirement for it. And that's how you build resilience, and that's how you stay positive, and that's how you take care of yourself, by putting yourself first, so that you can have healthy relationships with other people and take care of them, take care of others as well. Because empathetic listening and empathetic speech with each other is a very easy, and like I said, Sastasundar Tikau method of making our day successful and our lives happier.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. That was very well answered. And I think that's it. We won't be taking any more questions now. Ma'am, we respect you, must be hungry right now, time for your lunch. And I just want to end this session by calling for volunteers. We have posted a link in the live chat over there. And whoever is interested to volunteer with this forum, Professional Solidarity Forum, you are very much welcome. I really encourage everyone to be a part of this, because as ma'am said, that we need to contribute towards ourselves as well. So contributing towards the society is also a way of contributing yourself. It gets you, a sense of contentment comes to you, and you do something for the community. So this is a very good platform. I would encourage all of you to be a part of it. So you could, so we have the details here on the screen, and we also have a link in the live chat. I would like to thank Ms. Dr. Ruksheda Syed and the organizers, Ms. Fatima, for making this event so successful, and especially Doctor, it was completely insightful. I have learned so many things, and I'm sure everyone who attended this chat, and we had a very good response. Nearly 100 people showed up, and it's been an amazing session from you, and I'm sure you will get a lot of call for appointments. Thank you for all the participants for your patience, and thank you so much, ma'am. It was wonderful having you.
Bye.
And I hope to connect again. Bye.
Inshallah.
Thank you so
Inshallah.
much.
Bye.
Inshallah. Okay, this is Syeda Juwaria signing off. Thank you all the participants.